Hi, my name is Latoya and I'm from the Caribbean. I never expected I'd have the school bully wrapped around my finger. If you're new here, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. When I was 5 years old, my parents died in a car crash and I was sent to live with my grandmother. That's where I met Keegan, my best friend and our neighbor. In our town, everyone knew we were pretty tight-knit. I loved our quiet little part of paradise. In 4th grade, everything changed when the Pillage family came to town. They bought a few of the stores and turned them into large shopping malls. Not only was our town no longer quiet and peaceful, but the Pillage's son, Victor, was in my class, and he became the school bully, even to the teachers. During 5th grade, Victor stuck a sign on my back which said, "Pinch me." Every person I passed in the hallway that day pinched me until Keegan pulled it off. Once, on a field trip in 6th grade, Victor locked me in the bathroom. The janitor unlocked it about 30 minutes later, and I got detention for a week for separating from the group for over 5 minutes. Can you believe it? Then, in 7th grade, during the talent show while I was singing, Victor rigged a bucket of ice water to fall on my head during my Stella performance. I was sick for 3 days. In 8th grade, he stuck glue to my chair, and when I stood up, my skirt ripped. The entire class laughed at me as I shimmied out of the class with books covering my behind. I had to wear boys' pants from the Lost and Found. Ew. It didn't matter what Victor did, he always got away scot-free because his parents donated large sums of money to the school. One summer, Keegan and I sat on the swings in front of Grandma's house. I wish I didn't have to go back to school. I can't stand Victor. Why can't they just send him to a boarding school or something since they have all that money? Victor isn't so bad. Isn't so bad? May I remind you of everything he's done to me since his family set foot in this town. Before I could ramble on, Keegan leaned sideways in the swing and captured my lips with his. When we pulled apart, I was breathless and speechless. My, Keegan chuckled. I think I found the secret to snatching your words away from you. I pulled Keegan in for another kiss and it was his turn to be speechless. I've had a crush on Keegan since I was about 5, but I didn't want to ruin our friendship. I was just happy that he felt the same way about me. That summer, Keegan and I were inseparable, and Grandma kept telling me it was just puppy love. I couldn't wait to walk to school hand in hand with my new boyfriend on the first day of school. But that didn't go as planned. When I got to Keegan's house, his mother, Mrs. Hines, said he'd already left. When I got there, I realized his hurry to get there. His tongue was wrestling with Harper. What the freaking heck, Keegan? I thought you were my boyfriend. Latoya, did I ever ask you to be my girlfriend? No. Harper, will you be my girlfriend?
Sure.
And they began to kiss again right there in front of me. I ran all the way to the girls' bathroom and hid in a stall. I heard a notification on my phone and checked it. A shiver ran down my spine as I played the video. Someone recorded what just happened between me and Keegan and posted it on social media. A tiny logo on the side of the video read Victor's Videos. I stormed out of the bathroom in search of Victor, and when I found him, I wanted to punch him in the face. I found Victor chatting with a group of boys. Victor, you jerk! I swung at him, but he sidestepped and I landed in the bin behind him. He and his friends laughed and walked away. This year was supposed to be my best year yet. It was only the first day and already my year had gone to trash. Or so I thought. One day, the district superintendent, Mr. Flynn, was to pay a visit to the school. Our principal, Mr. Burns, ensured that the school was spick and span for his arrival. That's when I saw Victor spray painting a picture of the principal with his finger up his nose on the back of the school wall. Ahem. Victor spun around. It seems as though you're somewhat in a predicament here, Victor. I wonder what Mr. Burns will do if he sees this video. My lips curled into an evil smile. I've waited for a day like this forever, and I wasn't gonna let it slide.
My parents own this school. I can do whatever I want.
Okay, I shrugged and walked away. Later that morning, when Mr. Burns found the painting, he was furious. He called an emergency assembly to address the school.
The person who vandalized the school wall needs to step forward immediately. The longer you wait, the worse your punishment is going to be.
Mr. Finn shook his head and grabbed the mic from Mr. Burns.
This is a very serious matter, punishable by law. When you are caught, the police will be called.
I spotted Victor in the crowd, and his face was white. After the assembly, he approached me.
Name your price.
I thought your parents owned the school.
Name your price.
The price is you, Victor. Enjoy today because tomorrow, you're mine. I patted him on the shoulder as I brushed past him. The next day, boy did I have fun bossing Victor around. He had this coming for years. I made him do all my homework, feed me at lunch, and wipe the side of my mouth, and give me piggyback rides to class. I also made him apologize to every person he'd ever been mean to.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Victor looked at me after 2 weeks. What will mommy and daddy think about their perfect little boy being dragged away by police officers? I don't think that'll be a good look for their business. Do you? Victor cringed, then went back to feeding me grapes. One afternoon, while walking home from school, Keegan rolled up beside me on his skateboard. Hey, Latoya, how have you been? I ignored Keegan. Come on, babe, we used to be such good friends. I heard that Harper dumped you. According to her, you don't have what it takes to keep her. I looked Keegan up and down. You witch. Keegan pushed me into the road and skateboarded away. I heard the sound of a horn followed by screeching tires and a bang. I opened my eyes to see a car smashed into a tree. It must have skirted away to avoid running me over. I ran towards the car. It was Mrs. Hines. My eyes clouded with tears as I flagged down an oncoming car. Please, help her! I screamed. It was Victor. Victor and his driver hopped out of the car. While the driver called for help, Victor held me. Once Mrs. Hines was safely in the ambulance, Victor offered me a lift home. We sat silently in the back seat as tears continued to stream down my face. Keegan's mom could be dead because of me. Well, also because of Keegan, since he was the one who had pushed me onto the road in the first place. Victor took my hand and held it until I reached home. Thank you. I hopped out of the car and ran inside to tell Grandma about Keegan's mother. Unfortunately, Mrs. Hines didn't make it, and Keegan had the audacity to blame me. I thought Victor was bad, but Keegan was 1,000 times worse. After what happened to Mrs. Hines, I had a change of heart towards Victor. I figured life was too short to keep enemies. I preferred to have friends. Here you go.
What are these?
Cupcakes. I baked them myself.
Do they have laxatives in them or something?
No, silly, I just wanted to say thanks for what you did a few days ago. And I'm releasing you from your servant duties. I promise I won't tell anyone that you painted the principal on the school wall. Victor and I heard a gasp behind us, and we spun around. So, you're the culprit, huh? Latoya may not tell your secret, but I will. Keegan, you can't. I can and will, but I'll make an exception if you give me a kiss right here and right now. I stepped towards Keegan and he smiled. I was about to kiss him when Victor pulled me away and punched Keegan in the stomach. The boys wrestled on the ground until Keegan was able to get away from Victor. I'm gonna tell Mr. Burns you're both going to pay for this. Keegan sprinted in the direction of Mr. Burns' office, and Victor and I chased behind him. The three of us burst into Mr. Burns' office at the same time. I was the one who painted the picture of you on the wall. I blurted out before Keegan could say anything. Keegan and Victor were chased out of the office. A few minutes later, a police car arrived and I was taken to the station. Shortly after, Grandma arrived at the station, followed by Victor and his parents, who looked furious. I watched as Grandma pulled Victor's parents to the side and chatted with them. Victor stared at me from across the room, but he didn't make any attempt to come towards me. Grandma and I left 15 minutes later, but Victor and his parents were still chatting with an officer. Later that night, the doorbell rang and I answered.
No one has ever stood up for me before, not even my parents.
Maybe it's time to change all that. Before I knew what I was doing, I leaned forward and kissed Victor. I was super happy when he kissed me back. Suddenly, I was yanked away and I heard the front door slam.
After what that boy just put you through, you're standing out there kissing him. You better get some sense quickly, LaToya. You need to stay away from that boy. He's a troublemaker.
But there was something about Grandma telling me not to do something that made me want to do it even more. So, I did. Victor and I began to spend a lot of time together before and after school. I thought finally life was going to be smooth sailing from now on, but it definitely wasn't. At the championship congratulatory party for our football team, Keegan approached the mic. First, he congratulated the school on their team win, and then he said something that changed my life forever.
I have a question for the crowd tonight. Have you guys and gals ever dated a member of your family?
The crowd began to boo and jeered at Keegan as cups and soda cans made their way to the stage.
You guys and gals might think it's gross, but Victor and LaToya don't think so. Victor, my man, how does it feel to date your niece?
Victor and I looked at each other, startled. The crowd booed us and began to throw trash at us. They chased us out of the school compound. Do you think what Keegan said was true?
Nah, babe, I think he's just messing with us.
We got to Grandma's. Let's go inside. I'm gonna ask Grandma. Victor hesitated, but he followed me inside. I found Grandma in the kitchen.
What is he doing here?
I'll answer your question if you answer mine. Why did Keegan just make an announcement to the entire school that Victor is my uncle? Grandma seemed shook. She sat on the chair and folded my arms across my chest and tapped my foot. Well, we're listening. Grandma sighed. Then she explained everything.
When Granddad was away on business for 2 years early in our marriage, I had an affair and had Victor's dad. I didn't want the baby to ruin my marriage, so I put him up for adoption.
All this time, my father has been mistreating me because of his abandonment issues that you caused?
But why didn't you say something after Granddad passed away?
Because I didn't need to. It's my business.
We're dating, Grandma. I've been dating my uncle for 6 months.
Victor is not your uncle. He's not his father's son. His father got into an accident as a young child, and because of it, he'll never be able to have children of his own.
I spun around to speak to Victor, but he was gone. I ran out of the house and saw him running down the street. Victor, wait! Victor hadn't heard that last bit that Grandma had said. Victor still thought he was my uncle. I had to tell him the truth.